Almost every manifestation expert I've heard says you are being tested. Now, I'm going to tell you categorically you are not being tested. And honestly, I think that belief alone is one of the most damaging misunderstandings within the manifestation space. Because it makes people think that every delay means failure, that every emotional trigger means that they've done something wrong, and that every difficult moment means the universe is judging them. But that's not what's happening. So let's set this straight once and for all. You are not being tested. In fact, quite the opposite. You are being invited to upgrade so that you can hold the reality you've asked for. And once you understand that basic distinction, you stop fearing the process and you start understanding it better. Because manifestation is not asking, are you worthy enough to receive this? It's asking, can your current identity actually sustain it? And those two completely different questions that produce radically different outcomes. Because if your nervous system, your emotional baseline, your beliefs, your behaviors, and your sense of self cannot safely hold the reality that you desire, then something within you needs to shift. It needs to expand. You are not being punished. You are expanding. You are not being blocked. You're being redirected. You are not failing the lesson, and you are not being toyed with by some cosmic force deciding whether you are worthy enough to receive what you desire. You are being prepared. Big difference. Because one of the most damaging ideas in manifestation right now is this belief that every challenge means that you are being tested, that every delay the universe is checking whether you deserve it, that every emotional trigger means that somehow you got it wrong, that every obstacle is proof that you are failing spiritually. And honestly, I think this misunderstanding is one of the biggest reasons people spiral during manifestation, because the moment something gets difficult, the moment something goes wrong, they assume that they're being judged. But I'm going to tell you categorically once and for all, you're not being tested. You are being invited to upgrade, to expand, to stabilize, to become capable of holding the reality that you're asking for. And those are two very different things, because a test implies punishment if you fail. An upgrade implies transformation if you participate, and that changes your entire emotional relationship with manifestation. So before we go any further, I want you to think about this. What if the difficult thing you're experiencing right now isn't happening to stop you, but to prepare you? Because once you understand this, you stop interpreting discomfort as rejection, and you stop recognizing it as recalibration. Hi, I'm Melinda Mulcahy, and I help people who feel stuck, confused, doubtful, or frustrated with manifestation finally understand what's actually happening during the process of their manifestation journey. For over a decade, I've documented over 1,000 manifestation signs, patterns, synchronicities to understand what's actually happening between intention and physical results. Through that research, I discovered manifestation unfolds through an 8-stage process I call mapping manifestation, so that you can stop guessing, you can realign with confidence, build belief, and create real results. The moment manifestation becomes uncomfortable, most people assume something has gone wrong. They think, I must be out of alignment. I must have ruined it. What did I do wrong? The universe must be testing me. Maybe I'm just not good enough. But what if the discomfort is not proof that you're failing? What if it's proof your current identity can no longer sustain the level you're moving into? Because manifestation doesn't just change your external reality, it changes you, and transformation can feel deeply uncomfortable whilst it's happening. You are not being punished by the universe. You are being prepared by the process so that you are ready to receive. Manifestation is not trying to break you, it's trying to expand your capacity to hold what you once thought was impossible. And expansion rarely feels comfortable whilst it's happening, certainly within your internal world. This is where manifestation gets deeply misunderstood. People think manifestation is about getting something, the relationship, the money, the success, the opportunity, the visibility, the freedom. But manifestation is not just about receiving something externally, it's about becoming someone internally. And that becoming process can feel incredibly uncomfortable to the nervous system because your current reality has been built through the years of conditioning. Your beliefs, your fears, your emotional reactions, your habits, your expectations, your sense of safety, your sense of self, your understanding of what is realistic or possible. Now, all of that forms your current energetic baseline, and manifestation asks you to move beyond it, not slightly beyond it, but often radically beyond it. And that movement is what people keep mislabeling as a test. But let me explain why I disagree fundamentally that language is wrong, because the idea of being tested creates fear, it creates hypervigilance, it makes people think I need to react differently, I'm wrong, I need to stay positive, I better not doubt, I better not fear emotion. And suddenly manifestation becomes performance. People become suppressed by their real emotions because they think the universe is watching them like an examiner. That is not alignment. That is fear disguised as spirituality. And fear never creates expansion, which is what you need for manifestation. If you believe you're constantly being tested, you will start policing yourself instead of understanding yourself. You'll suppress emotions instead of learning from them. You'll fear discomfort instead of recognizing the transformation that's taking place. And you'll mistake natural recalibration for spiritual failure. Now, does that mean that challenges are meaningless? No, absolutely not. Challenges matter enormously, not because they are tests, but because they reveal your capacity, and that distinction changes everything. Think about someone who suddenly manifests millions of pounds. On the surface, people think that would solve everything, but internally, they still hold deep instability around money, scarcity, fear, unworthiness, panic, or self-sabotage. Then the nervous system cannot safely hold that reality. And we see this happening consistently. Lottery winners who lose everything, celebrities who collapse emotionally after success, people who manifest relationships and then destroy themselves through insecurity, entrepreneurs who hit success and then spiral into burnout. Why? Because manifestation landing physically does not automatically mean the internal identity has stabilized enough to sustain it. And this is the part most manifestation teachings skip over. Receiving is one thing, holding it is another. And I'm beginning to believe manifestation is far more about holding than it is about attracting. Because many people attract things briefly, but embodiment is what allows them to remain. Manifestation is not just about attracting your desire. It's about becoming the version of you who can emotionally, mentally, energetically, and even behaviorally hold it. And if you cannot yet hold it, life will begin showing you exactly where that instability still exists. Not to punish you, to reveal what still needs strengthening. This is why manifestation often intensifies your emotional world. You may suddenly feel more triggered, more emotional, more uncertain, more reactive, sensitive, more doubtful. Immediately, people begin to panic. They think that the universe is testing them. No. What's actually happening is that your current identity structure is being exposed, because manifestation has a way of illuminating everything that is inconsistent with the reality you desire. If you desire deep love, your abandonment wounds or issues may begin to surface. If you desire wealth, your scarcity or poverty conditioning may surface. If you desire visibility, your fear of judgment may surface. If you desire freedom, your attachment to control will likely surface. And when these things arise, people assume they are failing. But what if those emotions are not evidence that you are off track? What if they are evidence that something hidden is finally becoming visible enough to transform? Because you cannot recalibrate something you cannot see. And manifestation has a way of bringing hidden patterns to the surface, not because the universe enjoys watching you struggle. It does not. But because awareness precedes transformation. Now, let me give you a metaphor because I think this will help to explain it a little more. Imagine upgrading the electrical system in a house. If the house was originally designed to handle a small amount of power and suddenly you try to run a vastly more powerful system through it, what happens? The circuits overload, the wiring struggles, things short out. Not because the electricity is bad, but because the infrastructure was not yet ready, not designed to sustain that level of capacity. And manifestation works similarly. Your desires often require a larger energetic, emotional, and nervous system capacity that your current identity structure can comfortably hold. So before the full manifestation stabilizes, your internal system begins upgrading, and upgrades are not always comfortable or pleasant. So the discomfort you're feeling during a manifestation journey is not proof you are failing. It's often proof that your system is expanding beyond its current capacity. And it also means that you are actually on track for your manifestation because your old identity is trying to survive whilst your new identity is trying to emerge. And that transition can feel messy. It can feel uncomfortable before it feels stable. This is why I believe the language that we use around manifestation matters so much. Because when you tell people that they're being tested, they start fearing their own humanity. What makes them human? They fear sadness, they fear doubt, they fear emotional reactions, they fear temporary uncertainty. But emotional reactions are information, not failure. Your emotions are often showing you precisely where attachment, fear, instability, resistance still exists. And once you can see it, you can work with it consciously. This is where mapping manifestation becomes so important, because when people understand the stages, they stop personalizing every single emotional shift that happens. They stop assuming every delay means rejection or that they've been beaten by some competition. They stop catastrophizing temporary contraction, and instead they begin to recognize patterns. They understand, oh, this is recalibration. This is nervous system adjustment or alignment. This is identity restructuring. And this is expansion. And awareness changes everything, because uncertainty becomes observation. Fear becomes understanding, and understanding builds belief. Now, here's something else that's incredibly important. Expansion often requires letting go of identities you have unconsciously attached to yourself. The identity of being overlooked, the identity of struggle, the identity of needing validation, the identity of proving yourself, the identity of being unsupported, the identity of chaos, the identity of survival, of not being good enough, of not being worthy enough, of not being deserving enough. And sometimes people don't realize how attached they've become to these identities until manifestation starts to threaten them, because your current identity, even when painful, still feels familiar, and familiarity feels safe to the nervous system. This is why people often unconsciously pull away from manifestation they so consciously want, not because they don't desire them, but because the nervous system interprets unfamiliarity as danger. This is also why some manifestations appear to slow down, because your system is trying to stabilize around a new level of reality, and stabilization sometimes takes time. Nature itself works in the same way. A tree does not grow to full height overnight. Its roots deepen first. Its structure strengthens first. Its capacity increases first, because rapid expansion without structural support creates collapse, and manifestations follows similar principles. You are not being punished. You are not failing, and you are not being tested by the universe. There is no competition. You are being invited to expand your capacity to hold the life you ask for. And once you understand that, you stop fearing the process and you start working with it. So let's bring this back to you. What if the thing currently frustrating you is actually revealing the exact area asking for expansion? What if the emotional trigger that's showing you where your old identity still feels unsafe? And what if the delay is giving your nervous system time to stabilize around a larger reality? What if the uncertainty is not punishment but transition? Because once you stop interpreting manifestation through fear, everything changes. You stop obsessing whether you are doing it right, whether you're worthy. You stop trying to appear spiritually perfect. You stop suppressing natural human emotions, and instead you begin developing awareness. You begin observing yourself differently. You begin understanding the language of your internal world. And that is exactly where true manifestation mastery begins. Not in forcing, not in pretending, not in endless performing positively or, toxic positivity, but in learning how to consciously participate in your own expansion. That is co-creation. And honestly, I think that's far more empowering than the idea of cosmic testing. Because if you are being tested, then power exists outside of you. But if you're being invited to upgrade, then you're becoming an active participant in your own evolution. And that changes everything. It places you back in control. So I want to ask you something. Where in your life have you been interpreting expansion as punishment? Where have you been mistaking recalibration for failure? Where have you convinced yourself something was going wrong, that you're being tested, when in reality something bigger may have been trying to emerge? Drop in the comments below, because I genuinely read all of them and I want to find out your struggles and your experiences to help me create content that supports you more deeply. And if this video shifts your perspective or resonates, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because I'm breaking manifestation down into a completely different way, not as vague spirituality, but as a structured, very transparent process that can be observed, tracked, measured, understood, repeated, and consciously worked with. And if you're ready to go deeper into this work, I've created a free 1-hour mapping manifestation workshop where I'm going to go through so much with you, where I walk you through the 8 stages of manifestation, the signs and the emotional shifts at each stage, how to recognize where you are in the process of mapping manifestation, and how to stop misreading what's happening to you. Because once you understand this process, you stop fearing it, you start working with it. The link is below. Go ahead and secure your place. And remember this, you are not being tested. You are being invited to become someone capable of holding what you once thought was impossible. And that invitation may just change your entire life. And don't forget, the universe always says yes. To learn more about mapping manifestation, go to my YouTube channel, Mapping Manifestation with Melinda.